as a kind of makeup gift, I decided. Oh, whoops, sorry. There's double me going on. Uh, uh, since I'm not gonna be here Saturday, I'll do my art stream today. And probably it will, since it's the middle of the day for a lot of people, or at least a lot of people I know, it will, the VOD will be there, and I'll try and clip a highlight this time, and maybe that'll, you can catch the best part of it. That's how the art streams usually go. There's usually the nice boring part, and then the part that people actually want to watch, which is stuff happening. But yeah, so this is my setup. Now, in the the top there, you're gonna see the images keep flashing. I've been wanting to do this for a while, where I'm kind of showing what images I'm referencing, and if there's other images I have, I may add them in. Actually, I'm gonna add one now. There's another image I am referencing, and let me see if I can fix that real quick. But I've already started on it a little bit, and that's so maybe we can get to a nice finishing point by the end of the stream. As usual, I'm joined by my dear friend, the air condition, and the fan as well. So that should be fun. Let me add that extra reference though, so you can see what I'm going off of. Okay, and that should cycle through as well, and hopefully it won't be huge or anything, but yeah. Alright. Now, I can't actually see the reference as you guys are seeing it, so I have to have my own little folder of things. So let me get mine. I thought I had those open, but silly me, I just close things out because I'm trying to clean my desktop. It's like a compulsive thing I do now, where it's like I have to close every window when I really don't have to, but it's just something I do now. Okay, I need a picture of the one I just posted. There we go. That's the main one I want. And so yeah, that's the setup I'm going for. Let me zoom out for a second so you can see. So that setup with those that vintage portrait, that's kind of what I'm going for in there. Look and feel. Let's see if I have the right brush. Yeah. It's a little bit darker than the last one I used. I may want to use a little bit closer to what I had last time. It's not too much of a difference in line weight. Okay, and so this is the D&D crew that I DM'd for quite a while. We may get back into it, but things never end up looking good for us, you know. Usually someone has to or like one of the players in my group, he graduated this year, so he had to miss a lot, and usually when one person misses, we don't keep going, we just kind of wait. So I'm sure everyone has forgotten the story by now, but that's alright. But yeah, I just want this to be a nice chill stream. The last art stream I did, I got too stressed out with the painting, and you know, and it was late, right? I don't do late drawing well. I know that's some people's thing, but I'm actually more of a late writer. So I do some writing too. I actually do my best writing work late, but not my best drawing work, you know. Save my drawing for the morning, save my writing for the evening. And I mostly do writing now for like D&D campaign and possible D&D scenarios. I don't My creative writing is basically, for the most part, focused on that now. To say it is 100% focused on that now. I used to dabble in other things too, but not so much anymore. Oh, hey, glad you can join me, Fire Ruler. Yeah, just, you know, if you're doing stuff right now, you can have this on in the background. I'm not gonna play anything super loud, so not gonna wake anyone up. But, you know, just trying to get those details in that I know that each character has, and kind of switch them up a little bit, so that one of those drawings you see in there, that was their original drawing that I drew of their characters when we first started. And their characters have grown a bit since then. So I want to showcase a bit of that. Like the dark elf is forever looking more princely as he goes on, despite his scars. And I do want to highlight that more, because that was very important to him. But not only that, but everyone else is looking grizzled. Yeah, everyone else is looking a little more grizzled, so I want to try and get more of that in. Like even the dandy, his hat's gotten like blown off his head quite a few times, and now I did want to have like floaty sleeves for the dark elf character, but I'm thinking I don't want to do that after all. Just because it would probably impede his movement. It's like I'm gonna move everything around. This happens a lot too, where it's like I'll draw something in another session, and then when I get back to it, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. Let's see. Make sure those proportions are right. And the feet kind of end up past that, so you're probably not going to see his feet, because we want nice weight bearing kind of like shift here. Trying very hard to make the legs straight for when I go back later. One of the things I used to do for the longest time, it's kind of an embarrassing story. It's kind of funny too. A lot of my older characters, when you see their full body, like when I would do full body drawings, I do a lot of the reference images from myself, right? So so for my final in college, I had to do like game concept art, right? So all my characters, you know, were if it were a full body type, some were referenced off myself, and some were referenced off a male model that we had at the school. And so it was really funny, because then, well, it may not have been funny at the time. It was more embarrassing at the time. But it was pointed out to me that all my characters are like bow-legged. And the real reason behind that is because I'm actually slightly bow-legged. It's a family trait. And so when that was clearly pointed out, I was like, oh, that's because I'm bow-legged. So I have to make a conscious effort not to go to what I'm used to and have the character bow-legged, and I gotta, you know, Make him stand upright. Make sure I do a little weight bearing. I'm gonna like draw in where his legs should be. But the fighter's weapon is probably gonna cover most of it. Just because it's so large. I think the main reason I wanted to end up doing like large sleeves is it's probably for lazy reasons. It's like, well, the reference picture you can't see the guy's arm, so The other reason I was gonna say, which doesn't really hold up, I guess I'll give him short sleeves at least, is they're in a colder region. Nah, he looks like a Boy Scout. Nah, we'll just keep his normal like bare arm thing that he's got going. Let me pull up a reference image of him though. There you are. I did also want to make his archery things a bit more prominent, so let me start penciling that in too. His arms look more loose. Give it a little bend here. So yeah, I've been taking kind of long on this piece, just because for the reason I was talking about earlier. I'll start doing one piece and then I'll say, yeah, I really like how that looks. Get a little more space here. There's a slight bend. I don't know if I like that too much. Let's see. Oh yeah, so yesterday I was having some really bad server issues. And I'm not sure if this may be the problem, but I think it's a high chance it is why I've like always had server problems. Despite my internet not being too bad, I realized so in the streaming software I use that for some reason it was pinging South Asia and not going the quickest route, the Texas route. So I fixed that, and there's only been now it's not as much of a delay anymore, I've noticed. So that's been really nice, because now I can get a better handle on what people in the chat are talking. Not like there's tons of people in the chat, but just so I can get a better idea of what I said. So I'm not like, wait, what did I say 2 seconds ago? Yes, yeah. Very happy about that. Progress. Okay. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Now what layer did I put the hatching on? I think it was this one. Oh, that's a really big brush. Just hatch that in real quick. So I can, when I start filling things in, I won't think it's something else. Nope, that is an arm. That is definitely an arm. Alright. Now one of my things I'm trying to do this year, let's call it a resolution, shall we? Is try and focus more on things that I have avoided in the past. And one of those things, oh my goodness, what am I doing with my reference image? Windows. Okay. You're not seeing this, but I was trying to zoom into my reference image, and Windows has its own ideas of what it would like me to do. So we're gonna fix that. One of the things I avoided a lot, if you ever saw one of my comic drawing streams, was drawing hands, and even my portraits, when there end up being like hands in there, I would end up avoiding till the very last moment to draw them. They'd have like oven mitts until the very end. Now, I can go off my reference a little bit, but is it lighter? It seems like it's lighter now. By George, I think the pen pressure is gone. Done. Oh boy. Oh goodness. I was about to have a heart attack. Yeah, hands are the worst. It's like I learned to draw feet beforehand, so I'd be like, I'm gonna draw a whole bunch of feet. And their hands are all behind their backs. Yeah, that's how people pose. There's a lot of that going on in my my DeviantArt days, let me tell you. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. I kind of need to draw that knuckle in though. And my reference is gone again, Windows? What? I'm sorry, this is a chill stream. This is part of the song, right? I was like, whoops, did I turn another stream on? That's tripping me out. Yo, music, this is a chill stream. Could you chill out with the people's voices? It's starting to freak me out. Okay. Have like... Yeah. So yeah, you got your dark elf, which is very... Has to be more bony. Some more bony hands. Well, I hope that line isn't from any copyrighted material, because then this whole audio is just gone. Alright. Alright, so here's the thing. It's a good hand, but it actually needs to be a little bit bigger. And so now I'm gonna have to reshape everything. Yes, I would like to apply the transfer. It leaves. Do some Frankenstein work on here. Trust me on this. I know what I'm doing here. When it comes to sketch work, I know what I'm doing at least. When it comes to painting, it's a hit or miss. Or at least to me it is. In general, I have more people rather when I paint things. I don't know why, because to me my sketches look better. But once again, I guess it's a preference thing. Okay, Okay, yeah, just get that little. There we go. Maybe a little more shadow here. Okay. Let's move on to the next guy for a bit. So I'm doing some interesting looking armor here. And apparently people sitting was another thing I tended to avoid. Because I was trying to look for other references where I had characters sitting down. You know, like processes that I might have done for that. And there was nothing. Okay, that's a lie. There was one. But, I don't know, that character is basically floating in the seat, you know? I can't do that. This is a heavy guy. He can't be floating in a seat. But, yeah. Okay, let me go back to my Hatchimal layer. Yeah, just, if I start freaking out again, just remind me I'm on the wrong layer, and just switch on back over, and everything should be right as rain. Okay. So you see this right here? This is me avoiding drawing the hand again. You can't see that, but I'm shaking my head at my past self. Can't avoid them forever. Okay, so let's think of this rationally. He's got hands, you know. Hands grip things. Such inspirational commentary when I draw. It's like Christopher Walken wrote my dialogue. And you know, hands grip things. That's not my best impression. Yeah. I got better ones. I like doing impressions, but Christopher Walken is not one of my, you know, repertoire. I mean, doesn't everybody to an extent? Yeah, you got your one voice that you do. That you do really well. And then all the other voices kind of almost default to that one. Okay. You know, this brush is a lot thicker than I think the original one. Oh, nope, never mind. I know what pixel. So the width of the original one was at 7, and we are at 6. So I think the smallest I ever got was 5. So this is a good compromise. So a lot of times with fingers, when they're gripping something, you kind of, I don't know, your brain's like, no, that's not right, because then you're not showing the whole finger, but depending on how it's being gripped, you're not really gonna see the whole finger, you know? Just because of how it's being foreshortened. And so a lot of times it looks sillier when you do show the whole finger. In the end of things, you know. While you're drawing it, while you're sketching it out, yeah, it looks silly. Like these big old stubs, but I'm just gonna find a good place to cut it off and start shading it in. Sorry, man, I'm gonna have to cut your finger off. Another thing I may need to look up halfway through, and I'm not going to worry about it right now, is what they were wearing. Because I don't want to, you know, if they make mention of something that they're wearing, I do want to include that in there. Light coming from that side of the room. Make sure under the armor is nicely toned. It's doubtful that I'm gonna fully like color this, but I may do shading in the vein of the reference picture I'm using, so keeping it to the grayscale, or in my case the sepia toned thing that I'm going for. Look at me once again, getting ahead of myself. I shaded in the armor and I didn't even finish the full armor. The part that's supposed to lay down and bend a bit. Okay. And I'm on the right layer. Very good. So yeah, so the first character, the Dark Elf character, his name's Rowan, and he's a ranger, and he has a companion wolf. I could cave and eventually draw the companion wolf, but you know, I don't want the animal to end up looking too cartoonish, but we'll see. My style's sort of cartoonish anyway. He might fit right on in. The character I'm working on now, who is a fighter, ex-soldier, is his name Jax, and he likes to hit stuff with his sword. That's the quickest way to describe him, okay? He's very silent, but when he does say something, it's usually well, I wouldn't say important, but it's usually profound. You know, it's not gonna talk for no reason. I think I had that lift a bit too soon. Maybe only a slight lift. thanks. Yeah, for it, I was looking up some, like, leather mail. And I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like, because this old one, I don't know, just wasn't detailed enough for me. I was like, yeah, I want it to look more like it, you know, like it would protect him instead of just being a piece of cloth. Let me finish out his other hand. So he's supposed to be sitting on a chair. So, okay. Get this knobbly here. I remember there was one comic page that I had to do. Of course, it was set in a school, so I had to draw a bunch of desks, and oh my gosh, those desks were the bane of my existence. I was so happy to get out of the school, and then once I finally got out, I didn't get a chance to continue with my comic any longer. Maybe I'll pick it back up again. You know, it's just really time consuming, and if it's a one-person job, you can't, you know, you can't get a lot of pages out to keep people's interest. So you just, you know, put it out when you can and be like, please remember that my comic exists. So but you know, I'm invested in that storyline at this point. You know, it's something that I wrote a really long time ago, and you know, some of the things, the jokes are kind of corny to me now, but something I still feel like I want to put out there, because I think as a whole, despite the corny jokes, the story's good, and it gets better. I promise. Hasn't even put out a whole second episode. Yeah, it's good. There's only one episode out, but get some shadowing going on, like some layering, just so you know it's foreshortened and it's not a gimpy hand. He didn't get it lopped off, you know. I mean, that'd be really cool if he was still kicking ass at one hand. But that's not this man's story. That actually reminds me of Auron from Final Fantasy X, where he he only uses one hand. It's huge ass sword. It's the coolest character. I think if I ever created like an old man senpai character, you know, he would probably be more like Auron. Most of my past senpai characters have been like bookish, almost Merlin-esque. They've all been Merlin-esque, you know, from Once and Future King. I absolutely loved Merlin in the book. I can't speak for any movie adaptations because I actually haven't seen any movie adaptations, but the book adaptation of Merlin, I fell in love. Just such a strong character. And then he turned young, and it was sad. It's like, where's my strong character? Okay, this hand's giving me fits. I know what the problem is. He's a big guy, it needs to be larger. That's the problem, like, start off drawing, like, small hands, and then, and I usually have to, like, resize and make them big and then connect it to the rest of the body again. Small hands. Merlin. Yeah, top notch. Absolute best. like most of my in my writing, most of my writing, I do make my senpai characters. No, it's sensei characters. I tend to make them Merlin-esque, but I would like to try out a more Orin-like character. It's like more of a hard ass, but for the right reasons. I'm not really liking the placement. I'm gonna draw a rough placement and come back to it and do my normal thing. Just avoid the hands until I have to do them. But technically this time it's not avoiding. It's just saving it for later. Because no one wants to spend 20 minutes on one hand. That would probably look the same if you left it and just spent 5 minutes on it, you know? Let me just color it in and then like I said, I'll come back to it. Oh, I have another little guest. I have a very good boy named Chico. He's a long-haired Chihuahua, and he's looking at me with very doleful eyes. Why are you doing that? You have been fed, right? You were fed, right? Are you hungry? I think I fed you. I'm pretty sure. Okay, I have quite a few animals I have to keep up with. This is not a weird question. There are 5 animals living on my residence, so it's a fair question, you know? The food is there. He may or may not have eaten it. You know, dogs can be silly like that, and cats can be silly too. Both of which own this joint, or at least they think they do. So they make like meaty legs. All right, have that knee come in a bit. What is it, boy? Oh, he is very needy right now. He's not like you. What's wrong? Oh, you know what's probably going on. He's a little spooked by the thunder, and that's been going on all day today, on and off. It'll come and it'll go, and then it rained for a bit, but yeah, he's a little spooked by that. Poor thing. Alright, so last time I drew these characters, I didn't draw their bottom half, so now I have to decide what kind of pants he had on this whole time. Anyone got a good idea for culotte for some pants? I'll find one, and once I find it, I'll post it. Let's see. And I'll back up from it so you can see the full drawing while I'm searching for this. Keep clicking the wrong. Okay. Yeah, it's slowly coming together. Maybe I should draw just everyone's legs in and then come back. Yeah, don't skip leg day. Okay. Let's see these leather. Got like these like, okay, warrior, maybe like warrior pants. I'm actually gonna show me like a team. Yeah, like it's a hockey team. Let's see. I guess, steampunk. That's kind of the setting they're in. Yes, leg day is important. Now, arm day, I have skipped every day of arm day. My whole life. Okay, I'm seeing some pants ideas. A lot of them look almost roguish, though. Not all of them look like warrior pants, you know? Or dandy pants. There's a whole lot of dandy pants, too. See? Oh, these aren't. Okay, I think... Now, the thing is, would it make sense with him being like a swordsman? Pants. Alright, I'm gonna kind of sketch these in. Let's see. Okay, where are we? Oh, Photoshop's a little bit confused. Let's go like... I think like the main deal is they can be just normal pants, but make sure they have like a crotch guard, you know. It's almost like oh, what are they? You know, people who do like equestrian things. I can't think of the name of the breeches they use, but put some like metal devices on it, like metalish looking things. This is gonna be like the guard, and then he'll have like the real pants. The real pants. Get some buckles up in here. And get the more buckles I put, the more I channel Tetsuya Nomura. I know it's a heck load of buckles and zippers that don't make sense, but gosh, do I love those character designs. A sucker for unnecessary ornament. And I'm just like, I wish I could do that more too, but then I'll spend too long on it. I'm not sure if it's the music track or if it's like my actual yard with the bird sounds right now. I can't tell. Put more of a full cloth two on the side. And then we're gonna make those pants a bit larger. And then let me get my original, my OG reference out so I can see like how that chair looks. I can go about incorporating it. Start drawing that chair in a little bit. Don't want to save it for too late, because then I'll have this like nice detailed image and then once again he's floating. A little bit going backwards. Not too much though. Trying to do some braided work, but I may have to go in there to make sure I'm getting what I want. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just draw it from here. Looks like I just put a bunch of lines together. I'm just like, oh. And some things are just gonna have to take time. One of those things are ornamental detail. Oh wait, other side needs to overlap. Boop, boop, boop. And now bring this side in. And then bring this side over. Okay, maybe now I can do it from afar. Or maybe I'll just start it all over. Don't stress it so much. Yeah. Whatever looks good. Like, we need to get some real wicker reference in here. I need to become the basket maker, and then I will know how weaving works. I mean, that's extreme case scenario. I'm not probably not gonna do that. That'd be interesting, a basket weaving stream. I wonder if anyone would join for that. Hey guys, I'm gonna weave some baskets. It's probably someone who does that and does it well. So no need to, you know, no need to encroach on that market. I really like this design they have on the chair here. I think I'm gonna continue it as far as it can be seen. Okay, I gotta readjust it. Sitting on my foot. And then I'm gonna be like, oh jeez, why can't I move my foot? Alright. Ooh, that was not a straight line. I got some cool like swirl designs coming up here. Okay, I need to zoom out for a second. Get the arch of it going there. So I want it to be like so, and then I'll fill that in.
There's no difference at all. Your mind is what there is. Everything. But the only way to find that out is to persist in the same delusion as hard as possible. That's one way. Consider this one way. So almost all spiritual disciplines, meditations, prayers, etc., are ways of persisting in folly. Doing resolutely and consistently.
We have the talking thing again. We're trying to have a chill stream here. Music. You told me you were chill. We're not gonna have any. Okay. Extra commentary. All right. Never mind. I got like a full speech going on here. That's alright. Okay. So here, I'm gonna try and imply like the normal basket weave, like the I'm just gonna say the Easter basket weave because can't think of any other basket weave. I mean, there's the cornucopia, but the cornucopia is a little more indented, you know? Very harsh edges. This is a little more understated. And I think I put too much curve on that. Be a little less curve going on there. Yeah, it's not too bad. Stretch that all the way to the leg, even though his pants will probably be covering it. Okay. Okay, so we got the end of the chair here. Make that go in a little bit. And it probably wouldn't pop back out, given where I'm cutting off the picture plane. Alright. Let's try and draw on that sword. Looking from afar, I can kind of see where I want to edit things a bit better. And maybe even, well, gonna be doing my favorite trick again. It seems his hands were once again too small. Okay. That looks good. Now, within the campaign, this sword has a very interesting backstory. Well, not really. He just stole it from a captain of a guard in the outpost. Well, not stole. The captain was a traitor and was working with the anarchist group. And after they killed him, this character here, Jax, took the greatsword from him. And that's the story. But it was one of like the first NPC items they took, so like one of the major NPC items. So I think it's an interesting story in that regard. Oh, my friend the AC is back on. It's interesting because when it's really hot outside, it doesn't want to come on. And then when it's like a little bit warm, it's like, okay, I gotta turn on like every 5 minutes. Luckily it hasn't been every 5 minutes. I would know, but... One day I'll figure out the correct way to balance my audio. But I'll just use this as an excuse. I'm no sound engineer. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the captain of the guard's name too. It was like, I came up with the NPC's name and I can't remember his name anymore. It's been over a year, so. I want to say his name is Kilgore, but I think that was the name of the wizard who kind of like colluded with him. Oh wait, now I remember his name. His name was Valoran. Yeah, Commander Valoran of the desert. Yeah, it was a shame because he was a pretty cool character, or seemed like a very cool character, and then yeah, he ended up being a traitor, as it does in D&D. Like you get a cool character, and you get these guys think, is he actually a cool character? Is he gonna betray us? Okay, I may move on to the next character because I've spent a long time on Jax. I like to work through. Make sure I get everyone. I'll shade in that the leather protective gear too. Let's see. I know this there was a another campaign I was watching where there's like this really cool dark elf, or at least I thought he was cool. Of course one of the party was like, I don't trust, and yeah, he ended up betraying him. And I was like, God dang it. Just when I think someone is cool. Should probably put seams in the pants though, because it does still kind of look like bare leg. Thick seams, like triple seamed. They're funny, like triple seams on the pants, and then there's still a tear in it. Oh. Not so tight pants. Alright, for now the chair's still kind of floating. It's in the air, it's up in the air. Alright, let's go on to the next character. So, this is one of the main wizard characters, Niven. I mean, the first two are the main characters too. The two of the player characters. This is the third player character, named Niven, and he's a not wizard. I'm sorry. I get in a lot of trouble for saying that too. He's a sorcerer, and he's kind of got this secretiveness about him, but he's kind of like the planner of the team, you know. If it were just the other two, they probably would have ran past the story and chopped down all the bad guys. I'd be like, well, next campaign. But no. I'm sure the way I am, I would have put roadblocks in there no matter what. Considering I like puzzles so much. I had to tone down on my puzzliness though for them, because for some of them they would just get frustrated with the puzzles and end up not finding stuff, and I'd be like, oh, well, let me stop doing that so much. Another thing that's a lot of fun for me is eccentric NPCs. Like either ones that are really narcissistic or kind of like almost jocks in a sense, but they're not jocks, but it's like, ah yes, battle and the taste of battle and I love battle. Oh, those kind, you know. Done a couple of those, and one of them who was I thought was just gonna be an NPC. I mean, he's still an NPC, but like I thought he was gonna keep a minor role. Is the next character in the lineup. He's very eccentric, and you know, comes off as really annoying. But they managed to recruit him with a nat 20, so he got to stay. And then had one wizard that was like outright insane, based off of if you've ever played Fire Emblem, Awakening, I believe. There's a character named Henry, and he loves crows. And yeah, I based one of the NPCs off of him. But like I notched up the paranoidness of his character up to 11, so less on the, you know, I'm gonna kill everybody, and more on the, aren't the crows great? They tell me so many things, you know, that kind of. More of that eccentricity, you know, rather than the, I'm gonna kill everyone. Which is how he is in Fire Emblem. Or at least he comes off that way, and then once you recruit him, he's kind of a comic relief character at times. Okay, it's gonna need some more creases. It's gonna need a lot more creases to look believable. Needs at least 10 creases. So yeah, And not even so far from what's been revealed, he's had a pretty cool like backstory, and that's, you know, in conjunction with the person actually playing him as well as the story that's going on. He had this mentor in the past that was really like messed up, and made he and the other apprentice do like experiments on the town folk, and they were already like outcast. Like these kids were already outcast to begin with because the region they live in don't care for magic, and so they get taken in by this like old sorcery master, and he ends up being a little twisted himself, because he's trying to find a way to have immortality, and he doesn't get along with the necromancer people, so he's trying to find his own way about doing it, and eventually you see the culmination of his research, because eventually the character, this player character, does get away from him, and that's part of the backstory, but they end up running into him again, but he's lost all memory, and of course he's lost all memory of what he's done, and you know, he's not quite recognizable because he's turned himself into a lich, and so when he does finally remember who he is, then it's trouble for the whole party, and that's probably one of the most memorable sections of the campaign. It was funny how they handled all that. Of course, they ended up becoming friends with the lich because they didn't know what a lich was, I guess. So they became friends with him because he didn't know who he was either. And then when he finally remembered, it was bad. Crazy was bad. Yeah. Oh, believe me, if someone ever invited me to a campaign where I didn't have to be the DM, I'd be crazy wizard all the way. Like, make sure, like, put extra rules on myself, like, extra nuances that, like, they'd be like, you know, you don't really have to do that when you cast a spell, but I'm like, no, my wizard has to say bippity boppity boo. You know, like, something stupid that would ultimately make it for more fun experience. What's wrong, buddy? Oh, that thunder is scaring you. Oh, it's okay. You're a very strong boy. My dog is back. Yeah, I forgot he's this needy when the thunder gets bad. Okay, you know, I'm gonna just erase it. Just erase all of it. I just didn't like how it looked. It happens, you know, you just be like, that wasn't the way I imagined it. It's looking kind of floppy. Color it in later. He's literally trying to get in the seat that I'm sitting in, and this is a seat for one. This is not a seat for two. Buddy, this isn't a seat for two. Is that okay? Is that okay that it's not not a seat for two? Poor thing. get like a sofa for my streaming setup, just so he can sit if it starts raining. I think that day I was really like enjoying the look of the. I was really enjoying the look of the blended, like the blended pencil, and today I'm not so much. Like, once again, one of the reasons this drawing has been taking me so long to finish. I actually went through 3 iterations of this, and I don't know, I didn't really like how they were coming out. There was one where they were like, all of them were standing. Like, that's how I normally do, like, group pictures of characters. They're all standing. They're each doing, like, something different. Like, kind of showing off what their skill is. And, I usually like doing it that way, because then you can separate it later. And if you have to use it, like, you know, give it to individual people, then you can be like, oh, here's your character, and here's your character. But, in this case, you know, I wasn't liking how it looked, so. And that's for full body images only. For the headshot portraits, I kind of mash them all together. Yeah, I think it'd be nice though to like join a campaign. Like I've actually never played a D&D campaign outside of the ones that I've DM'd myself. So it'd be nice to have like a different DM. Only other ones I've seen are like the ones on the Twitch broadcast. So they do an excellent job. The reason I ended up becoming a DM, however, simply for the reason there were a couple occasions where I was invited to play in, you know, within the group, and so I'd get my character ready, you know, set up a whole backstory, have it ready for when they start. They said they're gonna start on this day. Cool, I'll be there, that kind of thing. And then it falls through. It's like never it would happen. And I was like, I feel like I'm gonna spend my life waiting for someone to be, you know, to be ready to DM something, and I'll never be able to play a game of D&D. So I took matters into my own hands, and you know, called up my cousins, and I was like, hey, y'all want to try and do D&D? I know you guys never done that before, but it's gonna be really cool. And at that time I was doing a lot of researching. Not researching, say, yes, I had my head in the D&D books, but I was watching a lot of streams. I was, you know, I was going through the guidebook, the rule book, the guidebooks, rulebook, same thing. And so I wasn't sure how it was gonna end up, but I think the most comforting thing about this like new age of D&D that has come out is they've been like, you know what, it's in the end, it's your story, it's your world, you know, if the rules don't all go as planned, that's fine, it's your world, it's your, you know, you're building it, so go with what you want. And that really drew me into it, because in the past it seemed more like you have to go through this gatekeeper, and it's like, if you don't know all the rules, you are banned from DMing. And then you're cast into the Shadow Realm, where all bad DMs go to die. Oh, you did, so Fire Roller, you did DMing as well. That's cool. What's your favorite era you like to either watch or do? Whenever you hear this, because I think we have quite a delay now. Probably about a minute delay. So yeah, I really like this new age of D&D they got going. Yeah, because it breeds some really interesting stories, you know, like, you get people who, you know, take it 100% seriously, and then you got people who are like, yeah, this ogre comes in and he says, get the fuck off my lawn, you know, stuff like that. So. And now you have a moose. It's like random ones, and then you get the ones that are more serious, and then you get middle of the road. I think mine ended up being middle of the road because of the people I'm DMing more than myself. I think I probably would have taken it too seriously if, you know, it was just a group of me playing. Oh, medieval, yeah, that sounds neat. It was like a Ren Fair almost, yeah. I love the medieval setting, but I really love the steampunk setting too, and that way you can get away with like saying they have certain technology and say, ah yes, it was invented very recently with this fork and this spoon. I really love medieval, but you have to like try and think of, okay, is this powered by magic, or are we gonna say it's something else? Whereas steampunk, you're like, and they cobbled these wires with this clockwork, and also I've been wanting to do a steampunk campaign, so that's really all there is to it. Alright, I gotta check to see if I made his waist too high. Oh boy. I've gone and made his waist too high. That's okay. It can be fixed. With movie magic. He kind of has a bit of an undershirt though too. He's got a lot of shirts going on. You have that like. And he's kind of on the shorter side too. So while he looks almost the same height as this guy, he's supposed to be shorter. So we will be able to see his feet. Can I give him a nice positioning here? Now, before I started DMing, there was a group that let me join in their, like, RP sessions. And, one of them was, like, a space age, like, sci-fi setting. That one was pretty neat. I wish we had done more with it, but, a lot of us ended up being really busy, as it usually ends up. That's how most campaigns die. everyone gets busy with something else. But with that group, it was kind of funny, or at least for me it was, because I always end up playing human characters. I know a lot of people would be like, so boring. But look, you can make your human character really interesting. If you make them eccentric enough, they get interesting quick. But both of them would normally never play as a human character. They'd either go robot or like half animal or, you know, something like that. And I'd be the human. Yeah, that would be the one I want to try next. I guess I would like get out of my comfort zone a little bit and then like try maybe like a half alien or something. Hey, if anyone's running like a Doctor Who-esque D&D like campaign, I'd be all in. I just wouldn't want anyone being like, once again, throwing the book at me like, you do not know all the Doctor Who episodes, so you can... Actually, this is what would happen. It's like a lot of those things sound, you know, a lot of those shows like that have run a long time, they kind of like backtalk themselves in a sense that, you know, they'll establish a rule like in an episode, what, 10, 20 years ago, and then, you know, 20 years later, they kind of just like cannibalize that. Okay, so with this character, I kind of did a bad thing that I try to avoid doing now, and it's kind of funny that I did this. What I did was not draw the body first and how he would sit. So now I've placed it upon poor me now to try and fix this problem. Let me see, I just want to draw where the slacks are going to end up being. It's like Charlie Brown. Like Charlie Brown shoes. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna do for the wizard's legs, I'll just have that mock up and we'll shade in that little piece right there. So yeah, the fire staff he's holding actually was within the campaign, and he acquired it from a location called Sokolovka, and they had like royal wizards there, and part of their job was like inventing things, and they let the party take some stuff since they knew they were out to eliminate the anarchist organization. So they let them borrow cool few things and some scrolls, and this fire staff was one of the things the sorcerer got. And I think I kept calling him a wizard. He would... Good thing he won't see my streams, because I'd be in trouble. I'm sorry. I know he's a sorcerer, I just wasn't thinking. Just like giving him a whole facelift. This is probably the character I've had the most trouble doing his face. Just because when I did the original drawing of him, I kind of just used the face that I used for you know, I use for everyone. You know, a lot of artists have that go-to face. But the more I got to know of the character within the campaign, the more I wanted to get away from that face. So I was playing with a bunch of different ideas for how he should look. Like, yeah, just use the face that you like to use. Yeah, get more of a shadow under here. Oh, now that looks flat. Oh man. It's a little bit better. That's probably where I ended up using the smudge thing too much. Because when I draw on paper, I tend to like to smudge things. Whereas when I draw on here, I end up avoiding it. But oh my gosh, when I was my younger days of drawing, oh, I used to like to smudge everything. Anything I could get my hands on. Let's put some shading on that, shall we? Well, they got more voices in the background. To be like, oh, who's there? Oh, wait. It's just me. Not enough that I have an air conditioner, fan, possible cat, possible dog. There we go. He's looking a little better now. Looking a little less sickly. Yeah. These are very rare moments for me. Okay, I don't cheer myself on very often. But when it happens, I'm like, yeah, you did a good job. High five, self. Alright. Let's move on to the next guy. Running low on time. I do plan on ending this at 3 o'clock, as the D&D streams will be. The plan is that they will be on Saturday. That's the plan. I may, depending on what happens though, I may end up having to reschedule them to either Friday or Sunday. But I'm gonna say the plan is Saturday. Watch, so many things are gonna happen. I'm just gonna have to permanently move it to Friday. It's just how it goes. Like when you play something, it's like, oh, then everyone starts like inviting you to stuff. You're like, I thought I was living a solitary lifestyle. Oh no, friend, I just remembered you exist. You want to hang out every Saturday? Oh no, it's happening again. In 2 months, you'll forget about me. No, I'm not that. Okay, I'm a little. I'm that cynical, but it doesn't always happen like that. That's just how my brain is. Yeah, I know. It's good to be a social person, right? You force yourself to do social things. That way, you know, you're not just talking to yourself all the time. I consider streaming social. Yeah, yeah. It's like, if someone invites me, I already have a social appointment. Thanks for the offer, though. So, one thing I kind of want to fix on this character's face, he's an NPC. His name is Ronald Nymphus Adderwall. It's part of a long line of, like, wizard family people. So his name's a big deal. And he's kind of a annoying, eccentric dude who kind of doesn't realize that he's annoying. But he's good at what he does, and so that's what makes him an asset. But let's just say 2 out of the 3 player characters dislike him but tolerate him anyway, and 1 of them thinks he's alright. I see. This is what I have a problem with. This ear. I got a problem with you, ear. Yeah. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes with, like, social situations, I was using the wrong pencil. No wonder everything looks so dark. There are certain social situations I don't do well, and I know particularly what it is now, so I actually try to avoid them at all costs. And it's the situation of a small party. It can be like 15 to 20 people, and at least 5 of the people know you, but they know you from different sectors of life. And let me think of like a better way I can explain it. So I'm at this party, right? It's a get together, a whole bunch of artists. There are these artists who kind of know me from a classroom setting, and then there's these artists who know me from outside the classroom setting, right? So you're kind of stuck in this place where you're like, how do I act socially? Because if I act like myself, then the people who know me will be like, oh, yeah, you know, that's how Mena acts. Whereas the people who don't really know me will be like, what is she doing? Whereas if I act like my more reserved, you know, classroom, you know, social setting, then, you know, the people who only kind of know me will, you know, be like, oh, okay. And then the people who know me will be like, what's wrong? Is she sad? So, yeah, those are always kind of the most tense for me. And I've actually had times where I just left. I left those parties early because I just felt so uncomfortable. It's really bad when it's like, it's someone you haven't seen in a long time. And then someone you've seen a little more recently and they're all in the same room and you're like, oh, you knew me when I was really cringy. So. But it's good to know that, you know, it happens to a lot of people. It's better to get through and it's like, okay, I'm not the only one in the world that has this problem. And then you just know to try and avoid those social situations. Be like, hey, you know, is there anywhere where it's more even ground? Where you can distance yourself, you know, have a little more distance and... So I do want to make his hat a little more like scuffed looking. Cause that was quite a funny scene within the the D&D campaign that one of the enemies like blew the hat off his head, and he was incapacitated for a round, quote unquote incapacitated for a round, because he was trying to retrieve his hat before it got any more damaged. And then the other characters are just like, oh, Ronnie. Well, they don't call him Ronnie. His nickname is Ron. But for his outfit, I like to reference like classic Victorian dress, and then I usually put like a buckle here, or a zipper, a zipper there, and that usually covers it, because he's a bit of a inventor, but he doesn't wear it. He dresses more like a dandy. Okay, let's try and see. That's the thing, I spend too long on a face, and then the body's still looking like Skeleton Man. Now, the interesting thing I did want to incorporate from the reference image is the idea for those older photographs, they have to stay in that position for a long time, and this character is very ADD, and so he would be the one where they for people who couldn't keep still, they'd put things to make sure they their neck stayed stiff and their arms stayed stiff. They put things within their clothing, and so their clothing would be all bulkier than they really are. And I did want to show that a bit, so that's why his shoulders look wider than they actually are. And so since he can't keep still in real life, for this, picture where he'd have to probably keep still a very long time, he looks not blurry. That'd be an interesting thing to draw too, though. Have a character who can't sit still and then everyone else is nice and clear and their face is all blurred. That'd be a challenge, to be sure. Not a challenge I'm willing to undertake today. But it's something to think about, Oh, you like Ronald? But you've never met him. Okay, I'll tell you a quick story about how he was introduced, though, in the campaign. So they're having the festival, because that's how a lot of things start. That's how you get characters from walks of life together. You have a festival. So they have this festival in the main town called Crossroads, and something's off. Something's off about it. The people with good perception can tell something's off. And you see this wizard, or he looks to be a well-dressed man, with his tongue out while the thing is going on, and he's mumbling the magic's all wrong. No, nothing's right with the magic. The magic's all wrong here. I don't know what's going on. And then and so Jax was the one who happened to run into him. So Jax was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? Why are you tasting magic?" And he can actually taste what type of magic is being cast. So, and that's one of his skills he has as a NPC. So he kind of pulls that out from time to time, where he'll just stick his tongue out and he'd be like, yes, this magic Definitely abjuration. Yeah, so there's a little more foldage under here. There's always this kind of, I guess, habit to want to make a straight line, and with clothing that's not usually the case, you know. There's all these folds everywhere. I just want to draw a straight line. I'm just kind of enjoying the fact that this character looks way more stacked than he's supposed to be. Okay, I'm drawing the legs. I think for this I'm just gonna go purely off of what the reference image has. Since his pants probably wouldn't differ too much. That is a lot of wrinkles though. Looks like a baby walrus. Other thing that Ronald has that pops into the story from time to time, he has a pet owl named Artemis, because, you know, in my experience, I'm not gonna say all guys, but most guys I've met have named at least one of their pets Artemis, fake or, you know, fake pet in a game or, you know, real life. So that's all I'm saying. But so he named his pet owl Artemis, and the owl brings them messages from Crossroads to let them know what's going on there, and if the anarchist group has attacked, and if they should, you know, come help or not. That needs more of a bump. Can always put in the pocket later. Oh yeah, owl. And he looks like the owl is supposed to look like, I'm trying to think of the name of it. I looked it up before, but I think they're a barn owl. It's the ones that, like, they're kind of brown and white, and they have those like roundish faces, like medium size. I gotta back up for a second, because I gotta make sure I'm putting things into perspective correctly. It's like you can sometimes tell when things are off, but like sometimes if you get too close to the image, it's forgotten until you zoom out, and then you're like, oh no. Another thing I'm gonna have to start practicing more is the hotkey where you like flip it around, you know, flip it back and forth, so you know things don't look too odd. But I find that like just taking a break from it usually solves that like any those kind of problems, like where you're seeing proportion wrong. I guess if I was on a timed schedule, I would do the trick where you like flip the canvas. It's a nice like curved seat. It's a really neat seat. I'll do my best to recreate it in the best way possible. I did really rush those creases though. It's like baby walrus. Alright, time to zoom in. Dig deep. The last couple minutes. Well, we won't get to the last guy, so I'll just talk about him. The last guy has been with them since the beginning. He was supposed to be NPC fodder. That's a terrible way to put it, but I made his stats terrible. Like I started him off with terrible stats, in the idea that he would probably die off, and you know, then it would just be the three of them on the adventure. So they started off with two NPCs like this. One was more like fighter based. They're all wizards for the most part. Like they all have some sort of magic capability to some extent, except for Jax, but that's part of his backstory. They all have some like magical capability in some respect. Everyone on that kind of universe. Some are more talented than others. So this kid, Colton, he's one of the younger recruits to the like the military group of the government, called the Assembly of Eight, and he you know, had terrible stats to begin with. He kind of like joins them. Once again, they sent new recruits to go with these adventures, and the idea was that, you know, they would probably die off, and then it would just be the three of the player characters. It's hard keeping up with a lot of NPCs, so let me just say. So, but it turns out instead, Colton, who's more of the like magic-based soldier, he got into a couple of like really close, you know, hairy situations, but he survived each time, so he has really good luck. He's got a really good deity on his side, you know. But so he stayed alive long enough to kind of become more powerful and stay with the crew despite his not as good stats. Oh boy, I am not liking how that looks. Even more like a baby walrus. See, this is why you should always draw the base body first and then draw the legs. But no. We had to be silly and draw the whole top half of the body first, even though we knew the legs were gonna be in the picture. So now, in hindsight, I'm gonna have to draw these legs so I can get a better sense of perspective, and then I'm gonna have to erase them again. Well, you live and you learn. I got some characters who still have chicken legs going on. So let me try and draw in this last end of a chair. That's gonna be Like one of those. Another wicker-esque chair. It's like more the one, you know, Grandma has on her in her garden. I think my grandma had at least one of these, you know. And that's like, they were white, they were painted white, and they were wicker painted white, and that kind of thing. Well, I think it's about time I have to end it, though. There's places I need to be, and things I need to do today. But it was very fun hanging out and chilling. As I still draw. But no, it was very fun hanging out and chilling today. It makes me feel a lot better about doing artwork on stream again, let me tell you. Oh my gosh, since that last one. At least for me. It probably wasn't as bad as I thought, but for me it was a disaster. But I think this came out a lot better. I need to put some more wrinkles in that fabric. I don't know why I was so afraid of wrinkles. Everyone has it's magic. Everyone has a finely pressed suit. Wrinkles. Okay. Yeah, I like that a little better. And I'm probably gonna like fill him out. Fill his leg out a bit more. You know. Make it more accurate. Yeah. So yeah, this, so I guess next D&D stream, which will be next week, and hopefully on Saturday, we'll finish this up, and maybe I'll move on to something else. So yeah, thanks for joining. Hope you like this, setup I got going. You know, I was thinking of using the more, like, flashy looking style, but that's not really I'm not here to show off. I just want to hang out. So, anyway, have a great day, and I'll see you, I guess, on Tuesday. Hopefully Tuesday. Alright, bye.